According to analysts, the slump in Tesla's value may be problematic with a $12.5 billion loan Mr. Musk secured against his stake in the company. Tesla's share price has taken a hammering, with most investors wondering whether Musk's Twitter purchase is bad for Tesla. Also, advertisers are nervous of Musk's Twitter takeover. According to advertising veteran Sir Martin Sorrell, advertisers will be nervous of using Twitter if Elon Musk patronizes free speech over potential online harms. He said advertisers do not want their brands near controversial content. Elon Musk vowed to relax content restrictions after he struck the $44 billion takeover deal. He described himself as the free speech absolutionist. Elon Musk has criticized Twitter's policy on moderating content before the acquisition, arguing that it needs to be a freedom of speech forum. We move on now to Indonesia's palm oil exports bans. Experts are warning that Indonesia's shock decision to block all export of palm oil risks driving food prices even higher. According to Indonesia's President Joko Widodo, the export of cooking oil and assorted raw materials would be prohibited indefinitely starting from April 28. He said measures were being taken to protect the availability of cooking oil following civil uprising over soaring food prices. Indonesia is the world's biggest producer and exporter of palm oil, with Malaysia a distant second. However, the export ban has prompted warnings that food prices, already undergoing rapid inflation in line with several other commodities, could increase further, causing serious shortage in countries dependent on Indonesian exports such as India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. The restriction comes just days after a joint statement from several influential organizations, including the World Trade Organization, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, appealed to governments to keep trade open by avoiding bans on vital foods and fertilizer exports. In the U.S., a basket of vegetable oil commonly used by food manufacturers currently costs 41% more than a year ago and has surged in price by 151% over the past 2 years, outpacing overall food inflation. India and China are the world's largest importers of vegetable oil, and India sourcing around half of its palm oil from Indonesia. The figure for Pakistan and Bangladesh around 80%, according to reports. We move on now to African news. The Central African Republic has adopted cryptocurrency as its legal tender. The Central African Republic has adopted Bitcoin as its official currency alongside the CFA francs, as the country has legalized the use of cryptocurrency. The Minister of State and Director of Cabinet of the Presidency, Obed Namsio, said in a statement that the National Assembly voted unanimously while considering the law governing cryptocurrency in the Central African Republic, and President Faustin Archange promulgated it. The Minister of State and Director of the Cabinet, the Presidency, Obed Namsio, said in a statement. On the 7th of September 2021, El Salvador became the first country in the world to adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender, and the International Monetary Fund immediately denounced the decision as dangerous for financial stability, financial integrity, and consumer protection. For the time being, only El Salvador and the Central African Republic have adopted Bitcoin as a legal tender, although the Ukraine government has accepted donations in cryptocurrencies, raising more than $100 million in the early days of the conflict to fuel its war efforts. Back here in Nigeria, UBA reports the modest growth in first quarter profits amid soaring costs. The United Bank of Africa has seen possible growth in net income for the first quarter of the year, much as revenue enlarged by almost 18.3%. The lender's unaudited financial shows largely boosted by income from interest. The lender's unaudited financial shows gross earnings come from 183.9 billion naira compared to the 155.4 billion naira of the corresponding period of last year. All the income sources of the Pan-African Bank recording increase. Operating expenses lifted 20.5% to 77.6 billion naira, driven by spikes in the spend on contract services as well as repairs and maintenance. Profit before tax was up by 9.6%, while post-tax profits jumped to 41.5 billion naira, accelerating by 8.8%. Total assets scaled up to 8.9 trillion naira from 8.5 trillion naira. In a related development, GT Bank's quarterly profits also jumped despite jump in revenue. GTCO has posted a rise in gross earnings to 119.6 billion naira January through March, as net profits fell in the face of escalating costs. The Financial Service Group earnings report shows. The lender witnessed a reasonable growth in interest, fees and commission income, its two principal earning sources, causing revenue to expand 12.6% compared to the same period of last year. According to the financial report, earnings took a hit from interest expense, which soared by 70.7%, a 26.2% surge in depreciation, amortization, and a jump in other operating expenses by 1/3, while other operating expenses climbed to 29.3 billion naira on amount of a steep increase in APCON expenses, administrations, communication, and sponsorship-related expenses. Pre-tax profits came to 54.3 billion naira, which is 1.1% higher other than the figure of the corresponding quarter of 2021. After tax profits contracted by 5.1% to 43.2 billion naira, shares in the group tumbled 1.42% to 26.6 naira per unit. We move on now to another story that the Nigerian monetary transfer firm has seen a Series A funding. A Nigerian blockchain-based money Afrex transfer startup has announced that it has raised $10 million in Series A funding to expand its blockchain money transfer app. The round was led by Sequoia Capital, China, and Dragon Capital, with participation from Golden Tree Stellar Foundation and Exceptional Capital, amongst others. Founded in 2019 by Tokwe Alabi and John Obirije, Afrex provide instant zero-free transfer to Africans at home and in the diaspora. It allows users to deposit cash on the app, send money to bank accounts or another user, and withdraw money to a connected bank or debit card. Reports say Afrex processes more than $5 billion in monthly transfers. It has grown its customer base by 500% in the last 6 months, with half of its active users using the platform more than once a week. The startup makes money by arbitrating the currency and crypto exchange rates when a consumer transacts. We move on now to the FIRS, as MTN Nigeria has allegedly been probed. The MTN Nigeria is under investigation by the House of Representatives Committee on Public Accounts following a 2.6 trillion tax waiver granted by the Federal Ministry of Trade and Industry. During the investigative hearing, the committee led by Oluwole Oke stated that the documents used to back the waiver were already forged. It was also asserted that the certificates, which stand as evidence of the waiver, following valuation of MTN dealings by the Federal Inland Revenue Service were not issued by the service. During the hearing, General Manager MTN Group Yemisi Adeleye said the Trade Ministry and FIRS used various documents to support the 2.6 trillion tax waiver. While she provided documents to defend the capital allowances, the House Committee disagreed with her submission, stressing that it would probe the role of abuse of power in the tax waiver by the Trade Ministry and FIRS. We move on now to another story. The Naira circulation quality drops for the third consecutive months. The quality of currency in circulation in Nigeria dropped by 4.59 billion naira to 3.24 trillion naira in March from 3.25 trillion naira in February 2022. According to the Central Bank of Nigeria's Money and Credit Statistics on its website, in January, the Apex Bank reported that there was 3.29 trillion naira in circulation. However, in the following 3 consecutive months, it has recorded a decline, dropping by 37.13 billion naira in January and 37.84 billion naira in February 2022. The CBN defines the currency in circulation as currency outside the vaults of the central bank, which is a legal tender currency in the hands of the general public and the vaults of the deposit money banks. In current months, CBN has embarked on several intervention policies which pushed currency in circulation to its highest level in the history in December 2021. The data also revealed that net domestic credit also rose month on month by 3.9% to 52.69 trillion naira in March 2022 from 50.7 trillion naira in February 2022, signifying an uptick in economic activities. Also, consumption of foreign wines by Nigerians hit 7-year high. The importation of assorted wine brands in Nigeria has dropped to its highest level. According to the data by Euromonitor International Market Research Company, wine consumption in Nigeria rose by 33.1 million in 2021, the highest level since 2015. Similar data from the Champagne a Trade Association that tracks the volume and value of exports from France shows Nigeria's champagne import volume increased by 83.8% to 559.088 in 2021 from 304 in 2020. It's noted that Nigeria is the third biggest champagne market in Africa and the 23rd in the world. Nigeria's high spending on assorted drinks is a complete stark contrast to the reality of the economic situation in the country. Well, we'll go for a short break now. When we return, we'll be looking at the stock exchange and foreign markets. Please stay with us.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did?
He never did.
he linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the matters counsel is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my Lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Thanks for being there. We begin our stock exchange review with the South African stock markets. The FTSE All Shares Index traded higher in the early hours of this morning, extending a rebound past the 71,000 mark with optimism from corporate earnings. Despite risks to global growth from China's lockdown in Beijing and volatility, in energy markets due to Russia's cut of natural gas supplies to European countries. As reported, support came from miners and individual stocks, and South African media giants Naspers advanced almost 3%. We also look at the China's currency. China's yuan hits over 1 year low. The offshore yuan depreciation passed 6.61 units per dollar in today's trading to its low of over a year amid fears that Shanghai-style lockdowns may spread to other parts of China after major cities ramped up virus testing. The yuan lost about 4% in about 2 weeks as China's COVID situation put more downward pressure on the economy and raised the need for further policy easing. This stood in stark contrast to other major economies, with the U.S. set to raise the interest rates aggressively this year to bring inflation under control. We draw the curtain here on Business 360 on today. Please join us again tomorrow for another edition of Business 360. We'll bring you more information on Business 360 from the beautiful hills of Ibiako. I remain Edidion Martin. Thanks for watching.